What's up, guys? We got 21 tips here that I wish I knew before starting Highspell. We're gonna get right into it. Let's go. Oh my god. Number one, clicking on skills. We look at the skill UI, so in the menu, just pull up any skill. The most common one that I think people use early is to learn how much every single type of food or consumable heals. Most of these food are actually fish, but some of them are required from like giants. I think this could be expanded in the future with like, maybe like different types of food. You do see a couple in here like grilled corn and baked potato, but those are just like putting a potato on a range. It's nothing really complicated right now. But you can see the food goes all the way up to 22 HP per slot. And the only thing that I think has multiples is the giant's milk or calcium brew. I think this always starts as a half glass. So I believe you can combine 2 glasses together, and it also gives you some defense, but that's HP. The equipment, those are pretty straightforward. You do have tier 80s that do not show in the equipment. So there's a legendary shield in the defensive world, and then in the offensive world there's actually 3 different weapons. You have the axe, the scimitar, and the longsword. So 3 different weapons there. You can see like what level it is to cook something. So the highest you'll see is 82. You can technically cook whale shark at 71, but you'll be burning them until like the late 90s. Pretty crazy. Yeah, every skill you can click into. My favorite I think is fishing, because you can actually look at, okay, here are the different rods that we have, and here are the spots where you can fish with a particular rod. Basically every single rod has like a certain fish associated with it. So for example, you'll see there's always 4 fish for each type of rod. So if they're ever to expand this in the future, what they could do is actually like, they could either add new types of fishing areas like ice fishing or something like that, or they could add more rods to give like more complexity or sideways progression to the skill, which could be pretty cool. With something like crime, you actually have 2 different main methods. Most people are going to start with pickpocketing men, since it's the only thing you can do at level 1. And then at level 10, you can start unlocking chests. And what some people will do is they will literally start doing high alchemy while they're doing the crime skill. Make sure that you do equip the 2 items. This +2 bonus might not seem like a lot, but early it is quite significant. You also have things like different armors. Nothing really too important here. I think most of the spells are actually already laid out in the spell book. The arrows, bows, and equipment, most of these are straightforward. There are a couple strength-based gear pieces. Still no champion's cape in the game yet, but that is one out there. And then you have bonus scrolls out here. It tells you like how many you can unlock at which level, all of these being higher than the actual level required to unlock. And one note there is that additional bonus scrolls don't actually give you XP, and that should pretty much cover the section here. One last shout out to the equipment for harvesting unlocks. For whatever reason, they decided to make gloves an equipable that is based on a harvesting level. So a skill level is required to upgrade this. So I actually had to grind out 70 harvesting just to wear the gloves that give a high accuracy and defense bonus. So this is actually quite worthwhile. It's going to save you a lot of time with, especially like low accuracy weapons like scimitars. This can kind of help compensate to get your hit rate up. It's part of the reason that I went really into accuracy early. That should pretty much cover it for all of the skill-based UIs that you can see by clicking into the skill. Number 2, use the game's 15-minute AFK timer wisely. If you just click once every 14 minutes and 50 seconds on the ground to just like move over a little bit, or I think you can like toggle your auto retell. Like there's a bunch of little tricks to it, but what I like to do is just eat a piece of food or use a potion, like a strength pot or an accuracy potion. There's a million ways to do it depending on what you're doing. Combat is a really great way to 15-minute AFK, but even fishing, just re-clicking the spot, a lot of the time that's going to be sufficient, right? And you can get a lot of time out of that AFK activity. Number 3, use up to 6 logged in accounts to do more things in game if you want. The 15-minute AFK timer kind of allows for a lot of different emergent gameplay. You can have 1 character training combat. You could have 2 characters training combat. You could have 1 training combat on something very difficult where you're eating and potting and having to run away or pull a different mob or something. And then you could have 2 that are just like casually training combat against something low level that's aggressive. Number 4, many skills become quite lucrative. So woodcutting is probably one of the most accessible early game skills. If you're looking at getting into woodcutting, I highly recommend you need to understand where Banton is. Let's go ahead and just clear our filters here. So this is kind of like an easy way to get like a tree map, but Banton is just west of where you respawn. So you guys remember you spawn up here in Middlefern when you exit the tutorial, which is literally just getting dropped in game. But if you go across these south bridges and then just walk over west, there's a guy named Jack here who sells axes. You can buy pretty much all of the beginner axes. Now, what I'm going to show here is basically my inventory of logs. I basically use this account as like one of my main feeders. It's basically an oak farmer. So all this character does is he has a coronium axe. You can buy every axe up to coronium. So a quick reminder, when you click on the woodcutting skill, you can see that of all the trees that go up to level 85, there's only a handful of axes here. It looks like literally 6, right? There's only 6 axes in the game. So you can pick up this bronze hatchet. There's 2 spawns in game. You should find them. They respawn like every 3 minutes. But one of those spawns is right here, just west of the chef. And then the other spawn, I believe, is nested behind the random like 2H seller dude up here on like the north side of the cow pen. So you can just get those bronze axes. You can chop the trees right outside your bank and just bank them. You can also chop the trees over at Banton. There's a couple here. And technically you could go to like one of the really dense spots. So if you buy all your axes, this is my favorite spot. There's a couple normal trees here and there's like a bazillion oaks. So a lot of people don't use that spot. One of the ones that I would recommend is finding these nodes that are good. But try and just buy all of your axes. The prices are super cheap. At Jack's Axes, the shop actually sells bronze, iron, steel, and palladium. So assume you pick up your bronze hatchet, iron, steel, and palladium are only going to cost you 1900 GP. So if you can just chop like literally like 20 logs and find some veteran to just give you like maybe 2k for those logs, if you want to actually do like a fair trade, then that 2k will get you all the way up to technically level 40. Then you will need 40,000 GP, but guess what? By the time you hit level 40, you should be able to farm something like maybe 1,000 logs. Like we're talking about like at least 100,000 GP worth of logs. So you're just gonna commit 40k of that to getting your chromium hatchet. That's gonna get you this black axe here that is gonna be best in slot all the way to level 70. And if you're like me and you get to 74 and nobody's selling Celadon hatchets, you're totally fine. This thing's like really good. So make sure you get your axes set up, but woodcutting is by far one of the best skills to get into early if you can find like the right spots. It looks like even egg brows over here. So this is definitely a hidden gem. Highly recommend to find these nodes that are good. Moving on, number 5. Other skills can be lucrative at later dates. Some skills like fishing you would want to actually look at as long-term investments. Now fishing, for example, it could be lucrative early, but most people aren't going to be in the market for low-tier fish, right? No one really cares about your bluegill, salmon. These are actually good fish that I tend to give away to new players, or they're used to boost your cooking level early, because you do need a lot of fish to kind of outweigh your cooking level, because they're going to have those burns, right? So you tend to want to like start at like level 30 when you're cooking like a level 1 fish, and then if you keep your cooking level consistently higher, you'll be in good shape. But I will say, I'm going to be publishing a whole video on this later, but the concept of getting ahead in cooking to make sure that your cooking level is always ahead of your fishing level is very important. And that means that there's actually going to be a pretty large demand, right? So if you look at the cooking skill tree, one thing that might get people a little bit caught off guard is they'll think, oh, I can actually cook, for example, whale shark at level 71. So like by like level 80, maybe like 85, I'll be totally in good shape. But it turns out that we now know that turtles are actually the most efficient XP all the way up to like at least level 92, potentially like as far as like 96, 97, depending on RNG. So it's going to cost you a ton of money, and like per unit, you're going to be way behind. So you may actually need tens of thousands of turtles. And what this means is that the efficient fishers are going to actually be probably, I assume, pumping clownfish because it's really good XP per hour for fishing. And they might just buy raw fish from other people. So there's actually a really large market here. And some people might counter this and be like, well, there's going to be a ton of people with like 6 alts or whatever all fishing. But I will remind you that like if you're training combat, even those grinders that are training multiple characters of combat, those guys can burn like well over 1,000 turtles, for example, every single day. So if you have like one guy who's fishing 1,000 a day and another guy who's like burning 20% of that, like another guy who's actually consuming 1,000, some of these markets actually balance out more than you think. Like for example, I have almost 50,000 fish, and I've like bought like the whole server's like fish economy to try and get rank 1 cooking, which we're probably gonna be the first one to hit 100, right? But at the same time, like I'm actually not planning on selling my fish. I'm gonna use it all because I think like in 3-4 months it'll all be gone. And that means that I basically consumed all the server's like high level food at like the first like month and a half, 2 months now. So it's kind of crazy to see how much this stuff will move. But I expect turtles, especially raw turtles, to hold around 200 each. And I could see shark going maybe to like 250, as high as 300 each when cooked. At the same time, I feel like the ratio of like raw to cooked is mostly going to depend on where people are at with cooking. If someone's pushing cooking like a rank 1 player who's well funded, you could see a lot of GP going out to people. So maybe fishing could be your skill. It's highly AFK, very friendly. Number 6, Highspell is a close-knit MMO, so don't be afraid of making business connections, working out deals, and investing in people. I personally went into debt over 20 million gold. At one point, I think I was actually in debt like 21 million, and I only knew I could fix this debt because I had a plan. So don't like get into crazy amounts of debt if you're like not used to this type of thing. But if you're a grinder and you're looking for like a cool opportunity, like your best bet is always to invest in people, invest in other grinders, invest in, you know, positively generating individuals that you know are going to be good for that money. Now, I don't ever recommend taking on debt, but if you are the person who has the money and you see this guy grinding like crazy, realize that if they were able to grind something higher tier faster, that could be more beneficial for them. And thus, if you could save them the time, it could end up, you could get like a piece of that where it kind of creates like a net good for both people, because, you know, maybe you help your buddy get that legendary axe earlier, or that piece of equipment, like a Celadon pickaxe, like a nice upgrade that lets them access the content in like a more meaningful way. So try and invest in people when you can. I think it's always going to be a good investment. Number 7, magic is super expensive. You want to try and upgrade to rages as soon as possible. This happens around level 15 where you can start using Water's Rage. The main thing with the magic economy is that if you're using Furies are going to run you about 100 each, whereas rages are never really going to go past 150. So unless you can get rages like near vendor price or lower, you're really not going to be in that great of a position. The Fury market is just really challenging because people don't really make a lot of Furies, and there's a huge oak economy which feeds into the rage production, if you will. So I highly recommend just buying a couple thousand rages if you're trying to like get to level 40 where you can use staffs, or if you need 50 so that you can access the money trees and the cursed goblins, things like that in that goblin forge area. Definitely recommend just like trying to stack up efficient resources. Definitely use staffs at level 40. That'll save you a lot of money in the long term with magic. Number 8, many players are still broke. So one strategy I always tell people is try and find the people who actually have the gold and see what they want to buy, because in general in a game like this, a small economy is based on utility, it's based on need, and it's based on goals, right? So if you can find a player who has 10 mil in their bank in liquid gold, they probably want to spend that gold on something, or they have like an idea of what they want to purchase. Maybe it's like a big ticket item, like a helmet of melee or a legendary weapon. Maybe though, it's actually, you know, 100,000 oak logs. So try and find out what people are doing, especially the people who have like resources, because those people obviously played the game or have played the game, or they're working with people who've played the game. And they're more likely to, you know, be good investments. Like if you want to help those people accomplish their goals, that can be mutually beneficial for both you and the individual. So it's just a basic concept of networking, but try and figure out what these people are doing with their time. Number 9, shout out to the tool HIGHLITE. HIGHLITE is the approved community-based Runelite-esque tool that lets you improve your gameplay experience. So HIGHLITE's like super cool because you can actually look at like different types of features that are in the game. So if we want to look at, for example, the HP alerts, my HP gets low, I get an alert. I can even set up a Windows notification so that I get like one alert that's like super loud, like is built into the operating system. Remember, this works for Windows or Mac, so there's a convenient setup for either one. You have customization for things like nameplates, so I can have one above my head. If I want to like disable my own, I could turn off like my nameplate and only have others, or I could turn off the pirate's nameplate there. You can see I'm actually adding that information with the enemy level and stuff like that. You also have these enhanced HP bars, so when I attack the pirate, as soon as I get aggroed, you can actually see this little HP bar come up. But you can totally get rid of that if you don't like it. But some people say it's actually pretty cool, because then you're getting like this real-time feedback of like, okay, well this is an enemy at full health, etc. You have the login screen, which lets you save profiles. That uses some operating system-based encryption, I think, how it stores the passwords. You also have the context menu, so you can change to left-click high-level monsters. Very helpful, actually. It's a small feature, but probably one of my favorites. I use it all the time. Trade alerts, I don't have these on, but you can get like a nice big ping if you want when someone trades you. I don't really think that's necessary. I actually have my PMs enabled because I have 6 accounts on, so if I'm looking at 6 PMs, I'm going to miss them all. So when I'm playing, maybe when I'm not streaming, I might have that on more often than not. There is a map. I'm not a huge fan of it. I think there's a lot of changes that have been put through here. I think this one scales. If you want to like set up the filters, you can do some stuff here, but I'm not going to really get into that. The XP tracking is probably my favorite. So you can see the exact rates that you're getting. Toggle on this XP per hour. It does need about 5 minutes to cook up because it's based on a rolling 5-minute. I expect that to actually change over time. You know, one thing you'll see too is like a lot of the UI will scale, but in HIGHLITE, you can actually control shift to zoom. Looks like I just got a strength level here. But for example, since these UIs override, you might want to like try and base it so that you don't have this type of override. That way, you know, when you bring things out, it's not really getting too much clutter on your interface. So I'm just control zooming. It's probably one of the easiest ways to manage that. Other things to really mention here, I think there's maybe 1 or 2 more settings. So there's a coin counter. You guys can see how much money I have. All I need to do is like go to a bank and then it will actually show the exact number of money that I have. So if we toggle on run here, go to the bank. You can also look at the information on the map is kind of helpful because you can find different monsters if they're aggressive or not. So as soon as I load the bank, you can see my money gets loaded in there. Now it's going to just show that I have this cash stack here. So it's a nice reminder when you're playing multiple accounts, and it should make it a lot easier. So hopefully that helps. Number 10, don't get attached to a particular grind spot. If you guys know what I mean, in MMOs, we tend to find places that we want to grind all the time. You might see me at the Cursed Goblins, or maybe I was at Giants in the past. But the truth is, I actually usually have between 5 and 10 other places that I could go personally. And I always recommend people have at least like 4 or 5 other spots that you're aware of. So like if your spot's taken when you log in the morning or after school or after work or whatever it is, maybe you start at Giants, but then you go to Undead Pirates. And if Undead Pirates aren't available, you go to the Triple Pirate or the Quadruple Goblin, or you go to the Quadruple Cave Chicken. Like there's different ways to set up in this game. And I think flexibility is a underrated asset. Number 11, don't underestimate the importance of accuracy. We think there might be some hidden caps. There is no damage formula yet, but right now I can tell you that even fighting like a level 34 Undead Pirate with level 86 accuracy, with accuracy potions that boost me into the 90s, and with a 79 accuracy boost, which is quite high, right? I still hit like, I can see a sample, I'll hit like 5 zeros and like 10 hits. So getting levels and getting accuracy based equipment is very, very noticeable. Number 12, defensive gear is extremely significant. So this is a tricky one, but I wanted to talk a little bit about defensive gear. Now this game is very strange because it seems that no matter like how high your defense is and how much defensive bonus you have, some monsters will just always hit you. I'm not sure where exactly the threshold is, but like I'm level, I'm in the 90s now. I'm like level 95. This is my main, right? And we have like the only legendary shield in the game. This is a tier 80 shield. We're wearing the chainmail, which we could put on 10 more points here. And technically we got 7 more from the Nightscape, but we're now wearing the best in slot gloves. We have the best in slot shield, legs, and the helmet we're losing maybe 1 or 2 points to get a lot of offensives. I've had many friends lose their weapons, their plate legs, like millions and millions of gold and items have been lost to the void because of the death timer. And a lot of that comes back to defense levels and not being able to tank through a 15-minute sample. Number 13, potions are helpful for accessing gear early. All right, so the cool thing with potions I want to show real quickly, since potions give a flat 10% rounded up, when you get to that 91st level, you actually unlock the 10th point. So I'm actually going to get a different boost for each of my 3 skills, but if you look at the effect of this, so you want to try and look for the HP retake if you really care, but you want to just consume all 3 potions, right? If you use a boost to get to like the next level of equipment, it's very smart, right? You can boost from like, for example, at 63, you can boost 7 levels all the way to 70 for accuracy. And you can actually do it a little bit earlier if you're doing defense because you can use the Celadon orb, presuming that you've completed the quest Sado's Trials. Now, Sado's is pretty easy once you have the required combat stats. We talked about this elsewhere in the video, but make sure you guys check out Storage Box's video in the description below. 14th tip here. The quest Sado's Trials will give you a permanent rechargeable orb that lasts up to 5 total boosts per usage. Boosts like a defense potion, but it's like 50% stronger. And you can use this orb an unlimited number of times. So it has 5 charges, and then you just go and recharge it, and you can keep recharging the orb. So it's kind of like replacing your defense potions. Definitely a hard quest, and you can't really cut that too much. I wouldn't even attempt it under like flat 62s. You can't use weapons or armor there. Yeah, it's worth it when you can do it, but I wouldn't really rush doing that quest. Number 15, a good early game loop that you can be found in my last video. We'll go ahead and link that, but Middlefern is loaded with all of these wonderful game loops. Like you can grab a fishing rod off of this table, and then you just walk over to the fishing spot. There's lake and river fishing right there. There's a range or a stove that you can cook all your fish on. You can also train on the aggressive roosters. There's double goblin. There's plenty of logs. There's oaks all around. You can do crime training on the men. There's, yeah, pretty much all of the skills. Your harvesting can be done. Pretty much all of your skill loops are going to start in Middlefern. But yeah, if you want to check out the video, I try and cover a lot of that in like an opening loop that kind of introduces the city and what's in the area. So number 16, ranges and fires, they do have different burn rates. The differences between ranges and fires is actually pretty noticeable. I did publish some data. I'll get into this more in a separate video, but my takeaway, guys, is that it is 22% slower to cook on any range in the game than it is to cook on a fire. And the only advantage of clicking on a range is about 9% improvement in burn rate. It seems that that's about our number. We know that, for example, turtle, one of the most commonly cooked items above like level 80 or so, is going to be a 100% success rate at 83 on a range, but 86 on a fire. So about 3 levels of difference. It's about a 7% improved rate in the burn rate at level 90. So if you guys have data, make sure you guys drop it in this cooking section on Discord so we can get more information. Quick introduction on the Discord. I dropped the link here. It's discord.gg/highspell. Number 17, the smithing push to 100 has not actually finished. If you look at the smithing high scores in particular, you can see that the top 2 players are completely inactive. Rank 3 is actually also somewhat inactive. He plays every now and then, but we haven't seen Jadwick for a bit, and I don't think anyone's really relying on Jadwick. Our best bet right now is a player called Snarflaxus, who's actually like one of the top miners. I think they have like something like 70,000 ore kind of already prepped. Snar is quickly working toward becoming the rank 1 mining player. I think they're going to be there in just a few days. Now, once Snar gets the smithing level, we expect prices to come down to about 20k a bar for Coronium, and maybe 200 to 300k a bar for Celadon. It's kind of unknown, especially with the Celadon rock in the game. But in the meantime, make sure you guys are out there farming Undercroft, you know, getting your clues done. I think farming tier 2s like Dark Monks and Elves and Giants are all great tier 2 dropping mobs. We also have like Charred Skeletons. There's plenty of options out there for tier 2s. Those will get you your Coronium. And of course, you can always buy from players as well. But hopefully this should help give you an idea. Today's, it's June 20th when we're filming this. So the end of this month, we're expecting, maybe Coronium is going to be completely available, but it may be a full month or so. I would expect by August, we should see Celadon in all of its forms entering the game at a much more consistent pace, especially for new players. So stay patient and get grinding. All right, number 18. Magic is heavily bottlenecked by Enchanting, which is bottlenecked by Woodcutting. In order to get Magic up, you need thousands and thousands of scrolls. If you're serious about Magic, you need tens or hundreds of thousands. Definitely think about helping the people who are really actively pushing the skill. These guys who put in a bunch of time, you want to try and either build a relationship with them by getting them logs to help them level up. And maybe you get them a lot of logs at a rate that's not super great, but knowing that eventually they'll remember that you helped. But try and find people who aren't just gonna invest into that skill for a week and then quit the game. Tip number 19, there is a wiki that I want to just drop the link for as well. The game's constantly changing. If you guys want to help out, become a contributor, definitely jump on the wiki. I know that when I found this game originally, I was living in an old outdated wiki, and I was kind of baffled by some of the numbers, and then I'd get the item and find out the numbers on the wiki were wrong. But the new wiki, which has now been linked, is much better, and the community's doing a great job. There's far more people contributing to it, so it makes sense that it is of a higher fidelity. Tip number 20, leveling crime, you guys. There's really only a couple hints that I have. I've only done the first 10 levels. But my advice on crime is that there are only 2 men to pickpocket. And I think pickpocketing is going to be your best route up to level 10 at least, because really you can't do any chests until level 10. So the men that I know of, there's one here and there's another one on the north side here. Make sure you pick up the leather gloves. So you do get leather gloves from a spawn right here. You just go around on the southeast side. You pick those up, but you can't wear them until you have 10 strength. So I recommend getting that done. And then bandits drop an item pretty rarely, 1 out of 2,000, a bandit mask. There's bandits on the lower floor here and the upper floor. There's 3 on the bottom and then 4 upstairs. There are more bandits in the Tyrian dungeon that I mentioned earlier. And there's also bandits in the wild. There's also bandits at Bandit Pass. So alternatively, you can buy them from players currently for about 10,000 gold. So I recommend just getting that 10k and finding one of the people who's been living at bandits and just buy 1 bandit mask off of them. That'll get you a 2-level boost. I actually recommend just doing men all the way to 10, because I tried going to the fisherman at 3, and I think you go lumberjack maybe 5 or 7. And it's not really worth, because your success rate drops way off and your percentage gains only a little bit. The first chest that I know of is building to the west of the fishing rod. So you have the stove, the fishing rod. To the west is the general store. Go through this door, and then downstairs there should be a chest you can pickpocket. In fact, we may actually be able to see it here. Yep, there's your little thing here. So inside of this building, once you get to 10 and get those chests going, that should be more long-term XP. And just kind of go chest to chest. Maybe you're doing alks and stuff like that. The skill is not super fast early, but I think it does pick up into I think around 40k an hour. We've seen Degalok stream. He's been doing some good thieving, getting XP over there. So definitely check out his stream if you want some tips on crime. Although he did say it didn't pay.
The message that I can say to everyone out there wondering if they should do crime is don't, because crime doesn't pay.
Tip 21, I just wanted to show off a little bit of the tech in this game. You can look at the attack speed. So scimitars are 4 ticks, longswords are 5, and battle axes are 6. So in order to pick up items off the ground, this game you actually pick them off before you arrive at them. So watch this, I'm gonna actually try and pick up bones between attacks. So we're gonna go click, and we're gonna click back. And if you click off, you don't lose a ton of time, right? So I can actually click and then walk back, and I actually grab that alchemy scroll. Now you could do something similar with eating, but when you eat, you want to like eat exactly on tick. Basically the idea is that if you have a slow weapon, especially like a battle axe, you know, 6 ticks, you can eat right after you slash, and I'm positive you can do it with the long too, but I think a scimitar might be too fast. I've got it a couple times. See, like right here, I don't think it was lossless, but you can see that it does save time. If you eat at the end, for example, of 4 ticks, if I eat on the 3rd tick, it's going to definitely delay my attack more than if I'd eaten that turtle on the 1st tick. So make sure that you try and time your movement with your attacks, and then that way you don't lose as much time looting. You can kind of like pick things up and keep moving back. But yeah, that's kind of my tip on looting. It should hopefully speed up your grind time and make sure you keep your XP rates up. If you guys have other tips, make sure you drop them in the description, because this game is loaded with like tons of little bits of information that there's a high likelihood as you post it, like you might be the first person who've ever discovered this little secret information piece. So make sure you guys drop and share your comments. If you found anything that I said that's incorrect or you kind of strongly disagree with, make sure you drop those feedback points as well. We're trying to get more content out and cover as much as we can. Pretty excited to see Highspell grow. This new Wildy update has honestly opened up the game a bit. We're curious if they're going to do anything with like sculling mechanics to kind of have some like more punitive methods to make sure that PvP is not just always one-sided toward the aggressor, which kind of seems to be the case right now. So let's see where the system goes. Let's see where drops go. We're kind of excited to see, are there going to be new bosses, new legendaries, any more equipment, or like new things like Undercroft, new levels. We're kind of excited to see what Dude does with the game. It's kind of like a one-man project, and he's doing what he's going to do. But we're here for the ride, so thanks for your time, guys. Feel free to comment any other thoughts you might have about Highspell. Take it easy and have a great rest of your day.